So in this video we're going to look at what is wargaming. It's sort of an introduction about sort of how to get into wargaming and what it is. So wargaming is a multifaceted hobby that can combine elements of strategy, history, and creativity. It involves simulating battles using miniature figures, dice and elaborate rule systems to recreate historical or fantasy skirmishes or futuristic battles. And in this video we're going to try and introduce you to the sort of overview of what wargaming is and exploring some of the types and how to get started. Now, the origins of wargaming has quite deep roots and can be traced back to far back as ancient times when military leaders would use sand tables and miniature models to try and plan strategies. Now, the modern hobby of wargaming, however, sort of began to take shape in the 19th century with the development of Kriegspiel, which was a Prussian military training game. And over time, wargaming has evolved from being a military training tool to a more recreational activity enjoyed by enthusiasts and hobbyists worldwide. Now, there are several types of wargaming, these can be broadly categorized into several types based on sort of theme and settings of the game. And the first up is like historical wargaming, and these tend to focus on real-life battles and campaigns from history, from eras such as sort of the ancient, medieval, Napoleonic, and World War II, for example. Some of these games will include Flames of War, Hail Caesar, and Bolt Action. Now, the next sort of category is fantasy wargaming, and this tends to involve battles set in imaginary worlds with sort of fantastical creatures, magic, and sort of mythical heroes and villains. Good examples of this would be Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, and Kings of War from Mantic. Now, science fiction has its own category as well, and these obviously are set in sort of postmodern, futuristic, alternative realities tend to have a lot of advanced technology, space travel, and aliens. Good examples of these would be Warhammer 40,000 and Infinity. Now, skirmish wargaming tends to sort of be small-scale battles with a limited number of miniatures, which often involving detailed character progression and native elements. And these can include all of the historical, fantasy, science fiction. And good examples are Mordheim, Necromunda, and Malifaux. Now, another one is naval and air wargaming. And these tend to specialise battles either in the sea or in the skies, featuring aircraft and ships. Good examples of these would be Dreadfleet or Aeronautica Imperialis. Now, there are several components that will make up a typical war game. One of the most obvious ones is miniatures, and these tend to be small figures representing either soldiers, vehicles, monsters, or characters. Then they're generally made of either plastic, metal, or resin, and can be painted for personalization. Now, you will need terrain, and these are models and scenery that help create the battlefield environment, and it can include buildings, trees, hills, and rivers, and these can either be pre-made or crafted from scratch. Now, another obvious one is the rule books and guides, and these will provide all the information for rules, movement, combat, and other aspects of gameplay. They will also be background information books that will be about the settings, especially for fantasy and science fiction. In all games, you will need dice and measuring tools, and these are used to determine the outcome of actions, measure distance, and sort of add an element of chance to a game. Now, another key feature is the gaming table, and this is basically the surface in which the game is played, and is typically covered with terrain and miniatures and will be in various sizing depending on scales. Now, how do you get started with a war game? Well, you kind of need to choose a system, and that will involve you need to research what type of war game you want to play and look for one that appeals to your interests, and consider the theme, complexity, and the community support for that game. Once you've done that, it will be a case of getting together some miniatures to play, and maybe some simple terrain. A lot of games these days will offer starter sets that provide everything for you to get going, to start getting our game on a table. You'll need to learn the rules, so you'll need to read the rule book and probably watch some tutorial videos. Another good way is to join a local gaming club and learn from players that already know how to play the game. Another aspect of the hobby is painting your miniatures. Now this is a big part, and a lot of people invest quite a lot of time and money into getting those miniatures painted. There are also a lot of online resources and communities to help you get started and improve your painting skills. Now another aspect would be to join a community, as wargaming is quite a social hobby, and you either can join local clubs, attend gaming events, also get involved in online with forums and other gaming communities online as well, to sort of share tips and find opponents. Wargaming does have some huge benefits, such as strategic thinking and planning, and sort of coming up with tactical skills and to outmaneuver your opponents. It involves a lot of math and creativity through painting and sort of scratch building and kit bashing and stuff like that. Another good one is that if you're playing historical games, it's a good way of actually enhancing your understanding of historical events and military tactics, all the research that would be required. But above all, wargaming is a social hobby, and it involves a lot of interaction with other people. And it's a rich and diverse hobby that pretty much offers something for everyone. So whether you're a history buff or a fantasyist or mad into sci-fi, there's something for everyone with wargaming. And it all combines a lot of strategy, creativity and social interaction, and it can provide hours of endless engagement and enjoyment for a lot of people. To dive into the world of wargaming and discover how exciting this hobby is really good. There's a lot of opportunities in there within this hobby for people. If you want to go down, if you're a history buff and you want to go into historical gaming, you can combine your love of history with historical gaming. If you're someone that reads fantasy books, the whole fantasy genre is there for you to sort of explore. And there's some great games with some really great background, especially things like from Games Workshop that have both a science fiction and a fantasy a system for you to sort of delve into, and they've got a huge amount of lore and background within those games to explore as well. And if you're looking to make new friends, then wargaming is a great way to do it. You just join a local club and get involved. Also get involved online and stuff like that, meet new people up. I've made friends online and then met them at events, gaming events. It is a really good hobby, especially for those who've got a bit of a creative outlet. Painting up the miniatures and learning new skills in painting those miniatures is a good way to sort of satisfy that creative urge you may have. Overall, wargaming does offer a lot for a lot of people, and it's a great hobby to get into. Some people say it's expensive, but it's like any hobby. It's expensive as you make it. There are cheaper ways to do it, and there are expensive ways to do it. Overall, I think it's a really good hobby to sort of dive into. And you don't have to dive into it in a massive way. You can go small and work your way up. Start with a skirmish game and build up to sort of fielding large armies on the battlefield. And there are lots of ways to do it. There are different scales, which we'll look at in another video. Anyway, that's all for now. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.